Welcome in, everybody, to another late night edition of 410 Sports Talk. I'm James Haskell, along with my co-host Glenn Martin, and it is full-on off-season, as you guys have noticed. We've already started to dig into it, of course, and we'll continue to do so. But look, we're here talking about our Baltimore Ravens. Just because football starts doesn't mean doesn't mean the news stops, doesn't mean dates don't stop happening. Things are moving quickly, and we got a lot to talk about the Baltimore Ravens. Some good, some bad, some ugly, everything in between, but we're here to talk about it. But before we do, of course, we got to shout out our awesome sponsor. BetOnline doesn't stop doing things just because the NFL's over. There's a ton of stuff to do. What do they got going on, Glenn?
The one thing they'll always have going on is that BetOnline will continue to be the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting in 2025. Whether you're a seasoned fan or a first-time bettor, BetOnline is your ultimate game day companion. With the largest selection of odds on everything from NBA to college basketball to the NHL or UFC, BetOnline continues to be your number one sports betting source. From every three-pointer to hat trick, BetOnline has you covered with odds, stats, and more for every game, every play, every win. BetOnline, the game starts here. And Jimbo, you said it as we were, opening the show. The news does not stop. Well, some of this news coming out of Baltimore, of the Castle, I wish it would stop, Jimbo, because my goodness, it reminds me of years past when we had, players get into some legal issues or become, TMZ, focus on TMZ. It ain't good, Jimbo. And I didn't think we'd be here again, but damn it, we're here, Jimmy.
Yeah, of course. Like you said, I think at this point, there's 7 more women now that have come out and made accusations about Justin Tucker. And I think as the case matures, just like we talked about last time, it was early on, it sounds as though these women have started to gather some representation. They're starting to compile a case against Justin Tucker. So it is slow move. Well, I don't know if slow moving is the word, but certainly it's moving forward and continuing to mature. I think the number, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think the total number is 16 women now.
8 different spas. Yep.
Yeah, 8 different spas, 16 women. So we are, as the once the civil lawsuits start to flow in, then I think it's fair to say I think we're approaching Deshaun Watson territory here. If we're talking about that number and we're talking about civil lawsuits. Now, of course, those things are still yet to come. And they're things that we take super seriously and want to be followed out on the fullest measure. But man, it's a bummer because you feel for the people involved. You feel, honestly, I feel for the women. I feel for Justin Tucker's wife. I feel for his kid. All parties involved. It's just a terrible situation to be in. I think ultimately, though, the Ravens are in a corner that once the first civil lawsuit is filed, I think they have to publicly address the situation and do something.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
I think it's only a matter of when that Justin Tucker is no longer a Raven. It's really a shame when you look at, there were some people maybe a year ago, 2 years ago that were arguing Tucker's place on the Ravens Mount Rushmore. Like that's how beloved he was. A kicker was going to potentially be on the Ravens Mount Rushmore, which of course only has 4 people on it. So if you're willing to take off one of those guys and put a kicker up there, he better be pretty damn special. And that's how important Tucker was to this community, this team. And now he's his legacy is going to be forever tarnished by this. And like you mentioned, you feel for his family. Imagine, of course, knee-jerk reaction, initial reaction when this is your husband or, whoever in his family is to defend, like, hey, that's not my guy. That's not how he acts. But then when you talk about now we're up to 16 women, 8 different facilities, she's got to be going, who is this guy? Is this the guy I thought that I married? It's really frustrating. DPG, if you haven't seen it, I'm kind of surprised, but certainly, you can go into the Baltimore Banner or pull up X and just search his name and you'll certainly see. But basically 16 different massage therapists, I guess is their official title, have accused him of some sort of wrongdoing, sexual wrongdoing, whether that's touching, their leg or touching himself, exposing himself, leaving bodily fluids on the table. Lot of a lot of really just weird behavior, and it's 6
Odd.
women to this point with 8 different facilities. So you can't just go, it's too much smoke to be no fire. And so I think it's only a matter of time before Justin Tucker's off the team, and his reputation is forever tarnished, and he'll probably only be mentioned when mentioning how it ended. Like, it's crazy to think. Like, I don't think he'll be mentioned other than, hey, you remember Tucker, how he ruined his career by doing dumb shit? Like,
Yeah.
that's how he'll be brought up.
Like, does he make the Hall now? I mean, he had his worst season of his career, and then this.
Yeah, I don't think so, man. I don't think he does.
It's just wild to me, man. The
Yeah,
fall
Sam
from
says
grace.
it good in the chat. If you asked me 6 months ago which Ravens would have been caught up in this, Tucker would have been pretty low on the list.
Pretty low on that list. He's always presented himself as put together, responsible. I don't know how to put this. This could be like, he's a music major, dude.
Yeah.
Like, those things don't come off as like the person that you would peg.
Of course, the music industry is having some pretty big issues right now.
Yeah, but you know what I'm saying? Like opera.
But yeah, you wouldn't have, yeah, exactly. Yeah, you wouldn't peg the opera singer as the guy you got to, worry about the most. But it just shows you never know, man. You really never know what we think, because we think
Rofo,
from the
dude.
Oh, and speaking of that, Rural Farms apparently released a message that they are closely monitoring the situation. So they still have yet to make a determination on what they're going to do.
Well, I think all of it is based on the fact that he could take counter actions against them for wrongful, wrongful
defamation.
Right. Yeah. So, if there's no civil cases or anything like that, he could then, I'm assuming, could take counter action. So I think really the flexion point is when you start to see this case compiled and brought forth. Now, the hard part is going to be, Glenn, there are substantive differences between this and Deshaun Watson in the timing. So a few things. Deshaun, they had clear DMs on Instagram, right? Number one. Number two, they had the NDAs, right? 3, it was very recent, so it was easy to get evidence, right? I know that the burden of proof is much lower for a civil case, but at the end of the day, there's still some sort of burden to produce evidence and prove that it's not just he said, she said. Right. So if we're looking at this from just a case perspective, like forget the names involved and things like that, the lawyer has to be able to show substantive evidence to prove that it's not just she said this. Right. And so even if all of it's true, what I'm saying is that that's going to be the hard part for them because it was so long ago.
Yeah. The interesting part is that it, like DPG saying, so he stopped after 2016. It's like,
right.
Did he stop or like, so I'm curious, when did the Deshaun Watson stuff hit the news and everybody was talking about it? Because if this is 2016, that all this Deshaun Watson stuff came up, did that scare him out of this behavior when he sees headlines about this, Deshaun Watson doing all this to massage therapists? Was he going, I've been doing the same shit, so I should probably stop now? I don't know. What made him stop in 2016? Right. Did he stop?
I think, didn't he get married in 2016?
I don't know. I have no idea.
I think that's
would you think that a guy who's capable of doing all that he's accused of doing would stop because of some vows he took? Like, if a guy's capable of doing this.
Yeah, he got married in 15. Sorry. My initial thought was that she found out, like, because there was, there was stuff back in the day that was much smaller, right? Like, it never made it to this level. And that, it certainly that would make you fear for your marriage or other things and things like that, and really make you reconsider what the heck you're doing with your life.
Maybe
right?
His wife caught him, is what you're saying.
Or maybe she just heard the report. Like, she heard some things and then she was like, dude, like, I'm not going to be married to someone. I don't know. Right. Like, this is just me thinking, like,
she would have had to catch him because there's no way she would hear it through the grapevine and none of us would.
Well, what I mean is that if we go back, there was some, there were some old tweets.
Oh,
there was some old
scuttlebutt,
right? Yeah. Really old stuff. But obviously not enough to make the news, but my only point is that, that was my thought, right? Like, what made him stop? And maybe it could have been something like that, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I'd like to know if anybody in the chat could figure out, like, when did we first hear about Deshaun Watson having issues with massage therapists? What was the initial where it was on ESPN talking about it? Because if that was 2016, that'd be awfully like, That's weird timing. As soon as it was all over headlines, all of a sudden his behavior changed. That would be strange. But either way, I think it's only a matter of when, not if, that Justin Tucker is off this team. But look, the legal or all those issues, they don't stop at Justin Tucker. Unfortunately, another player had some legal issues. Looks like yesterday it was announced through TMZ that Ben Cleveland was arrested for a DUI. Cops say he blew a .178, which I believe the legal limit is .08, so over double the legal limit. Boy, oh boy, what the hell are we doing, Ben Cleveland?
I also wonder, I'm not a scientist, but how much alcohol does he have to consume with the giant human that he is to then, pass the threshold by 2 times? Because
that's a good point, Jimbo.
You know what I'm saying? Think about how much volume of blood. You know what I'm saying? Like, so much alcohol has to be consumed.
That's a really good point. Like, a bigger guy can usually drink a lot more than a super smaller guy. He's as big as you get. I mean, he's 6'6", he's 300 and how many pounds? Like, he was the heaviest guy in the NFL the day he was drafted. So he is not. Yeah, that's a good point. He probably had to have like a case of beer, like a whole 30-pack to himself to get to that.
Dude. And then literally just walk outside and get in his truck.
Look, Blackie says about 20 beers. Stackhouse says he's a big guy. That's a shit ton of alcohol. Stackhouse, how many beers do you think it's taking for you to double the legal limit? How many beers are you putting down, and how close are you to Ben Cleveland's size? Yeah, he does. Right. He does crush a 30-pack of Buds, no problem. Like, just, I mean, look at he doesn't even look drunk, Jimbo.
Yeah, no, this looks like him coming up to practice.
Looks fine.
Looks like he's showing up for early morning walkthroughs.
Yeah, maybe like Nuno says in the chat, maybe this was a whiskey addition. Maybe beer wasn't enough to get to 178 for him. He would have probably had to pee about 1 billion times and get tired of it and start slugging liquor, would be my guess. But either way, what's the penalty here internally for an organization that, kind of makes itself look like zero tolerance ever since the Ray Rice debacle? What would be a penalty, and does that penalty change because it's Ben Cleveland, who appears to have been in the doghouse already for 2 years?
Well, he's already a free agent, right? Am I not mistaken?
He's
going into his last year?
Let me see. He was
on that list. Remember we did a list?
Okay.
I believe that he was. Double check me.
I think you're right, but I'm going to double check. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's okay. So if that's the case, then I guess, do you think it impacts at all his ability to sign elsewhere?
He's on that list. On that list.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know. Unfortunately, I feel like this is too commonplace in the NFL. To where, like, it will just be seen as... there will be much more questions about why he didn't start over Falele than there will about why he drove drunk.
Yeah, and he's still a young man who I got to imagine there's at least a handful of offensive line coaches around the league that probably wanted to draft the guy and probably think he's got a lot more unreached potential than what the Ravens have allowed him to reveal. So, yeah, maybe I'm sure he'll land on his feet somewhere else. I'd also like to see what were the conditions of his arrest. Was he going 180 miles an hour? Because that's a different story. Was he just swerving a little bit, got pulled over? Okay, did he crash? Like, I don't even know much more details beyond the fact that he was arrested and booked for DUI. So I guess we'll also have to wait, because if all of a sudden he was going 150 miles an hour in his Ford Raptor and he crashed into somebody, then that's a whole different thing. But if it's just, maybe a cop found him sleeping at an intersection, I think he'll get a little more leniency.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, context matters. Obviously, you don't want anyone driving drunk, right? But
no.
Yeah, I think there's a point. This is really my question, Glenn. Is he wearing camo Crocs?
Oh, 100%. And I got to imagine that's why they didn't do the field sobriety test. They went right for the alcohol the breathalyzer, because they're like, bruh, you don't even have your action strap engaged. How are you going to perform a field sobriety test in some camo Crocs with no action?
Oh, Ben. But look, this, unfortunately, Glenn, I think this speaks. What happened?
They caught him creeping out of the woods with about 25 raccoons and no tags. That's good. That's
God.
good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just eating a squirrel. Didn't even cook it. Just
Dude, so there's a line in Parks and Rec that makes me think of Ben Cleveland. There's a part where Ron Swanson is camping in the woods in the middle of nowhere, and he's like full on bearded up, and he's trying to hide and isolate himself. And he's talking to Leslie Knope, the main character. Amy, is her name Poehler? Is that her name?
sounds right.
Anyway, she shows up and she's like, "All right, Knope, what do you want to do? Do you want to fish, hunt, or I think the other one was like eat or whatever. I can't remember." And she was like, "I could go fishing." And he's like, "All right, I'll get the shotgun." Like.
That's one way to do. That's one way to do it.
You know, I can see Ben Cleveland doing something that, right? Like
dynamite, stick of dynamite.
Yeah, I'll get the shotgun. Waterproof firecrackers. Guilty.
I believe you. I believe
dude, right down to the creek, dude.
Right down it. Yeah. Oh yeah.
But no, it's unfortunate the Ravens can't stay out of the news for bad reasons. It makes you question things when AB of all people is questioning your team's communication in regards to Justin Tucker. Did you see that?
Antonio Brown?
Yeah.
Oh boy.
He's like, you notice how the Ravens haven't said anything yet about Tucker.
And
like, I don't know. What do you say to the guy?
He's kind of right. I think they did release some sort of a statement, but
that they're monitoring it, right? But do you agree with me that the point when there are civil cases levied is when we'll start to see more action from both the league and the Ravens?
Well, that's the interesting part, because let's say hypothetically there was no civil case ever.
Then what can you do? I mean, you can't just say, "Oh, she said this," and he's a public person. So, I mean, you know what I mean? He could easily say, "Well, they're taking advantage of my stature, my position as a public person."
He could, but do the Ravens have like just the story, just the headline alone? Is that not enough for them to claim the detrimental? Conduct detrimental to the team and use that as a way to get out of his contract? Like, they don't need charges. Right. Anything that's there to hurt the shield is typically something that they can act on. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see the legalities of if they can get out of this contract without owing him a bunch of money in the absence of a civil case or a criminal case.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see, right? That is a good point. I just don't know where the line is. I feel like the fact that they're monitoring it means that the line, I mean, they haven't reached it yet.
I guess not.
But
it could be just they need to make sure all their ducks are in a row, because they're not going to want to cut him and pay him. So they're trying to accumulate enough evidence, I guess, to cut him and cancel his contract. Pay him,
right.
But like DPG said, you don't want to set a precedent that any accusation.
That's my point, right? Like, I know that, right. Yeah. I know that. That's sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there. No, but like, you can't just say she said this 16 times, therefore he's guilty of that. Like, that's what we have a judicial system for.
It is, but if you say that too much, then you're just, you can't see the line is you want to respect the victim, and of course,
for sure.
But you also have to recognize that there are occasions, where, like DPG is mentioning, where you can't just trust anyone, because then they could just call and cancel everyone. So that's a tough line. That's a line I get scared to even approach, Jimbo, because either way, we're going to make somebody mad. The person who's more staunch defender of any potential victims, and then there's the other side who are going, wait, you can't just believe any false accusation. So it's we were talking about what changed for 2016. We don't know. Is that the Deshaun Watson story broke, and that's what changed his behavior? Did his wife influence his decision being married in 2015? Did he get caught? Who knows? Did he get scared straight by one of the girls saying something and maybe put the fear in him?
Mm-hmm.
We don't know, but it could be, and like Mark said, it could be a money thing. But the weird thing is, to this point, there's been no indication that they're after money. Yeah. So,
the thing is, though, if they are compiling a case, once it goes to civil lawsuit, then obviously the only recompense that can be had is money. Like, what else can you do?
Unless they are, we're doing it because it's the right thing to do. We're doing it to stop him from potentially doing this to other women. We're doing it to bring light to, like, I guess they could say that. But like Blackula mentions, I remember when Matt Araiza was drafted by the Bills, or he was either drafted or he was signed by the Bills as an undrafted free agent, and he was the punt god. Remember he was
drafted by the Bills. Yeah.
was the year we took Jordan Stout, and we were going, why aren't we taking this guy called the punt god? And then they get these false allegations. He gets kicked out of the league. He misses, I think, 2 years of his NFL career, only to find out it was all BS. And he's back now playing for the Chiefs and actually was just kicking in the Super Bowl. So he's recovered, but he lost 2 years and all over false accusations, apparently of accusation where he wasn't even in the same state when this event occurred. But yet it still caused him to lose his job and lose 2 years of service time. And how much money, how much opportunity, like who knows what kind of opportunity. You just never know. He could have had an off the field gig. He could have anything, and that's all gone. So it's really, he signed his first major contract then. Did he? Well, yeah, he was a rookie in 2012 when we won the Super Bowl. So maybe he did. I don't know.
I also,
so he's saying March 16th. Was it only 4 years ago that the Houston stuff? Was it only that long ago? Huh. Years later. Yeah. Okay. All right.
Well, and I will say this: there is a substantive difference in that none of the women were certified massage therapists.
In which
with
case?
Deshaun Watson.
Oh yeah, he was using like Instagram people or something.
He was just finding attractive females and messaging them. Not that I'm not justifying anything. Justin,
I thought some of them were though massage therapists.
Double check me on that.
It was a long time ago. But
there's a video,
and there was like 80 women, by the way. So
yeah, I guess that's true. One of them could have had a license somewhere.
Yeah, it was.
But anyway, yeah, I mean, it's just a tough situation the Ravens are in, and you know what? Look, Glenn, if there comes out to be substantive evidence, it is what it is. I don't care what team you play for, who you are. You deserve the penalty that's coming to you.
Yep.
Good luck with it, buddy.
See ya. And we'll find another kicker, just like we did when we found Justin Tucker. Yep. After, Matt Stover was like, oh my God, he's the great Matt Stover. We'll never. And look, we found an undrafted guy out of Texas. And so I think they'll find another one. And look, who knows if this guy could have been done anyway, mentally. Yeah. If he would ever recover. We don't know. But I wanted to also quickly point out before we talk any free agent news about the new coaching changes that have gone through the last couple of days. So first, the Ravens are they've hired safeties coach Donald D'Alessio from the Kansas City Chiefs. He's worked there for the last 4 years. He's a young dude. Like, I mean, Jesus, Jimbo, he might be younger than you. I mean, he's a very young guy, but he is one step towards the rebuilding of the secondary coaching staff after we've had a ton of turnover in that area, which seems like it was kind of needed. And when you look at the success, at least in the early part of the season or the lack thereof, there wasn't a ton. So now Chuck Pagano's in and Donald D'Alessio. Let me just pull this up so I can, because I might be mispronouncing his name. But this is an effort to redo the back end of the defense and bring in a good mix, I think, of young and older coaches. Like at first it was a bunch of older guys coming in. We saw Dean Pease come in last year. Then we see Chuck Pagano being added this offseason. But look, then they bring this guy in, Donald, who's much younger. And so I think they're still trying to continue to put a mix, just like you would build your roster where you want a good mix of veterans as well as young guys. I think the same can be said for your coaching staff. You want the young, innovative guys that have new ideas, fresh ideas. And you couple them with the older guys who've done it all, seen it all, been around forever. And hopefully, if they work well together, that those ideas can kind of somehow find a way towards the middle and you get something really special.
Yeah, no, one of the things I think is exciting about the Ravens in general with their coaching staff is I do believe that even though a lot of people want John gone, and John does find new ways to get creative and build a really solid staff, I feel like every year. Like you said, Glenn, he kind of is picking from both sides of the spectrum. And it's really exciting to see. Think about the combination of this guy with Pagano. Will we have a better coach secondary? That'd be hard to say.
Be tough, yeah.
And the way that all of those guys come together to support Zach Orr, who's learning and growing and things like that. It's exciting stuff, man. So I was excited about this move when I saw it. But there's one other move I know you want to talk about that you're equally as excited about.
Yeah. You talking about on defense?
No, coaching staff, right?
Yeah. I'm excited about what do you think about this, Jimbo? I got to get your take because this is a little odd. I think I'm still sharing my screen, right?
Yeah, I can see it.
Do you remember? So the Ravens are also bringing Matt Pease, who will be serving as the inside linebackers coach, who is the son of Dean Pease, who will continue on as his advisory role for the Ravens. correct me if I'm wrong, Jimbo. I thought when Dean Peace left here,
It was because we wouldn't give his son a job?
because we didn't believe in nepotism and we wouldn't allow him to bring his son on the staff. And so remember, he went into retirement only to immediately flip that, come out of retirement, and go coach elsewhere where he hired his son on his staff. Did we all of a sudden change the policy here, Jimbo? Why all of a sudden are we okay with him hiring
it's
his
not
son?
nepotism. Maybe the kid he's got more of a resume now. Is there justification at least? I mean, it's clearly still nepotism, but maybe it's like, okay, he's got some chops, got some references. He's not as green as he was, But yeah, it's a good point. It's a good point you bring up.
Yeah, I just was like, I remember that was a big issue why he left. It's because he wanted to bring his son in, and we didn't believe in that. But he was at least a defensive analyst for the Bears last year and had previously been with Dean and in Tennessee and Atlanta. Yeah, so I guess it's not a bad thing in a way, but it is a little bit of a about face from their policy, at least a couple years ago when Dean was here the first time. But no, excited to have the help either way. Not sure how much value he'll bring.
Yeah.
Like now, maybe future value.
Yeah.
Maybe it's an investment into the future, but
who knows?
I thought it was kind of interesting.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah, buddy. But now, I think we're done all the hires, right? I think that's all the hiring.
Yes,
Let's
sir.
get into the news you wanted to talk about, Jimbo.
Yeah, this is interesting to me because, to be honest with you, Glenn, I originally thought that I felt like it made sense that the Ravens and Ronnie would simply reunite in an extension. I didn't think this was much of a story, but now it seems that, and you can't be upset at Ronnie. There seems to be some momentum around the value that he'll have in the open market. Barnwell, what's the guy's name?
Bill Barnwell.
Bill Barnwell from ESPN has him ranked as his third free agent on the market this offseason. Number 3 of top. He has his top 50. Ronnie Stanley's ranked number 3. There's a lot of mixed opinions around this. I know people have him ranked in different places, and a lot of pundits say he should strike and get, as much as he can. Others believe that his best spot and his highest value is here in Baltimore. So I'm getting a little nervous about this only because I was hoping to not have to worry about this position at where we're drafting, because that's just a difficult position to fill at, what are we, 27 or something? It's just a difficult position to fill. So yeah, I want to know your thoughts here. Do you think that ultimately I still believe that Ronnie comes back, and I think he gets a nice deal, and I think he comes back. But what is your take here? How do the Ravens play this, and what do you think ends up happening?
Yeah, I think this is a key part of the offseason, man, because I think you said it right. Not only is it hard to find a D1 starter at left tackle when you're picking at the very end of the first round, it's also never a position where you go into a draft with that glaring of a hole where everyone in the league knows what you need and knows how desperate you are to get that tackle. So there's so many scenarios where I could see that a team who maybe wants a tackle and knows, since they know we're taking one, if they have any opportunity to leapfrog us, jump ahead of us and take one, they're certainly gonna pounce on it. So at the very least, you don't want to pigeonhole yourself into being forced to take a day one, on day one, or at the very latest day 2 of the draft player, if you have any hopes of that person being a starter day one. I mean, we talked about, like, Roger Rosengarten was a pretty high pick, and he didn't start day 1. So, what's the expectation that, you're going to be able to find one? I think it's pretty low. So, man, I really hope we can get Ronnie back here. It seems like he has a lot of respect for the organization. He's done things in recent years where he's worked with them. He's talked about how, his initial signing of that contract, the injury bug hit instantly. What was it, a week after he signed his monster deal, he got hurt and was gone. He was a shell of himself for years until finally returning to form recently. He's talked about how he felt like he owed them something. How, so I don't think that's just gone away from one good season, one healthy season. But I am also concerned that, money talks, Jimbo. And if a Brinks truck is back to his front door by another team, I don't think it's completely unreasonable, or even I wouldn't even fault the guy for taking a boatload more money to go somewhere else and play. So this is a key part of the offseason, Jimbo. I think every fan should be really following this, because if they don't get this guy back and they can't find a replacement in free agency, which I know they're going to try. They're going to try and fill their holes. If not, and they got to get one out of the draft, it's going to be a boring-ass draft, Jimbo, because all we're going to be doing is simply mocking a tackle to us every first round.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I agree with you there, Glenn. And we're already starting to see that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've noticed. I've been, looking at some mocks, and
they've all said tackle. Yep.
Yeah, which is okay with me, but still, yeah, I would much rather. I don't even know if there is the best guy in the draft at left tackle. I still would probably take Ronnie Stanley for this coming year because he's a known commodity, right? Like you just know what you're going to get. Now, obviously, the health is always a question mark, but I agree with you, Glenn. Man, I think there's got to be something to said about the Ravens sticking with him. Now, he could say, well, you guys had to. You know what I mean? Like you didn't really, as far as contractually. But to your point, if a team, it just depends on what Ronnie wants. Like if a team shows up and gives him the most cash, take it. But if it's if it's the Jags,
right?
If it's if it's the wrong team, if it's just not a team that's not going to win.
I mean, you talk about AB, you talk about Antonio Brown. He just was talking about this because he was talking about Tyreek Hill went to the Dolphins.
Yeah.
He said, how do you think he's feeling? He's like, you don't go to the Dolphins when you can still win. You go to the Dolphins at the end of your career when you're ready for vacation. He said all them BBLs running around Miami, you don't want that distraction. He said, you don't want that distraction until you're done actually trying to win. I was like shocked to hear it because look, Antonio Brown's a little out there, but I got to imagine this is how players in the NFL really think about certain teams. Like you go there to only get money. You go there because you know you ain't going to win, but they might give you the biggest bag. You go to Miami when you want to enjoy yourself, have a nice nightlife. So, yeah. It's sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Jimbo, but you're very right about that. Yeah.
No, yeah. I just think it's got to come down to what he wants, right? And Ronnie doesn't strike me as the type of guy that's like, I don't know. It doesn't strike me as the type of guy that's just going to take a bag to walk into a bad situation. He's probably been pretty smart with his money. His nickname is the Guru. Like, I don't think he's desperate. He's been well paid. I mean, Ronnie struck, what was it, 95, 97 guaranteed?
Oh, I don't remember, but it was. You
remember that? I mean, the guaranteed money was massive. Remember?
Yeah.
So it's not like he's hurting here. I mean, yeah. So it'll be interesting to see. I hope the Ravens don't sour it with a bad. I don't see Eric doing this. Sour it with a bad offer either, and make Ronnie be like, "Well, let me go out there." You know what I'm saying?
Insult him. Yeah, he better not insult him.
I mean, you remember how Joe felt about that first offer?
Yeah. And remember, even he didn't. A lot of people don't remember that they even had Ray Lewis kick the tires. Remember?
Oh yeah. Yeah. And was it 8? Was it 08?
Something like that. He was talking with the Cowboys.
Talking about going to the Cowboys. My freshman year. Oh man, I don't want to age myself. That was my freshman year in college.
Yeah. Look at you, Jimbo. Getting old. You're getting old. Let's see here. I did want to quickly touch on that super chat here, Jimbo.
Yeah.
Why did I pull this one up? I don't know why I did it. I pulled up the wrong website. Let me
wait. Oh, you want me to pull up super? Oh, I thought. Okay. Anyway, you're pulling up that regarding the super chat, right?
I'm trying to look at the contract situation, but
yeah. So Nick Wade asks, cutting Marcus Williams, does this hurt the cap or free up more? Let's see, guys.
Well, I think it's only a foregone conclusion that he will be gone. Yeah. I tried to use SpoTrack and I was all kinds of confused. I would suggest if you could find it on Over the Cap.
Yeah.
I got it. Oh, perfect. So what's the savings?
Okay. So in 2025 is a void year.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah. So if we cut him pre June 1st, the total savings will be $13 million.
Boom. See ya.
Yeah. He's at 13.5.
Yeah. Goodbye. See you later. Now I'm sure he's going to get some money because it's a void year. Is that right?
It says that he'll get yeah. So it says that we'll lose out on 4.6.
Okay.
He'll get 4.6. Yeah.
Jesus. And then he'll go away somewhere else to play against us.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, good luck to him, dude. But look, folks, I think that that might be it for us tonight. Sorry that Justin Tucker and Ben Cleveland sucked the air out of it a little bit. Yeah. But look, we got to talk about it. We hope the Ravens stay out of the news. We hope we can talk more about free agency amongst other things. But yeah, keep your eyes out there for Ronnie. We're not going to have a ton of moves, a ton of money to make huge splashes in free agency. We'll see how the Ravens start to prepare strategically for that as they make moves upcoming. We'll talk about a potential extension of any players. Adafe Owe, is he an extension candidate? Other guys, the extension candidates, Derrick Henry and otherwise. So make sure you turn your notifications, hit the subscribe button, all the other great things so you can stay tuned. We'll be back this week and in a few days. See ya.
See ya.